Good evening and welcome to the launch of Brighton Festival 2022. I'm Andrew Comben, I'm Chief Executive of Brighton Dome and Brighton Festival, and I'm thrilled that you can join us here tonight. We're enormously proud of everything that was achieved in Brighton Festival 2021, down to the commitment of artists, partners, and the support of our funders. But I believe the scale and ambition of this year's festival is really what Brighton Festival is all about. We've been thrilled to work with not one but two guest co-directors this year, the Syrian architect and writer Marwa Al-Sabouni and the theatre maker Tristan Sharps. We'll hear from them shortly and explore the programme in a little more detail, and I really want to thank all of the artists, partner organisations and community collaborators for providing such a rich set of experiences for this year's festival, and to our wonderful team of programmers and producers whose creativity, openness and imagination in exploring this year's themes has really brought this festival to life. I also want to acknowledge the vital and steadfast support of our funders, Brighton and Hove City Council and Arts Council England, and the support throughout the pandemic from the DCMS Cultural Recovery Fund, which has enabled us to still be here. And tonight, the support of our major sponsors, University of Sussex and Moda Living, and our principal supporter, the Pebble Trust, along with that of all of our sponsors, supporters, donors, patrons, and members. Your incredible support, faith in us, and encouragement has enabled this festival to happen, and we thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Let's hear now from leader of Brighton and Hove City Council, Phelim McCafferty, and from the University of Sussex, Emily Tofield.
The festival co-director Marwa Al-Sabouni has described how our architecture tells the story of who we are, which are especially appropriate words as we look forward to the Brighton Festival in 2022. Today, the festival's home is one of the country's eminent arts venues, but of course was formerly a stable block, a Victorian skating rink, and a World War I military hospital. This patchwork of history speaks to our identity as a place, and today we are rebuilding from the pandemic and reconstructing the arts offer with the wonderful new Corn Exchange and Studio Theatre. It is an enormous privilege to speak at the launch of the 2022 Brighton Festival as leader of Brighton and Hove City Council. Author and architect Marwa Al-Sabouni's laser insight to the built environment and theatre artist Tristan Sharps' expert spatial installations will see them co-curate and weave tantalising cross-cultural experiences for audiences as they celebrate tangible binaries and exquisite interchange. The return of a full-scale programme of 150 events heralds a roller coaster ride and, of course, fantastic news for the city, with newly commissioned site-specific work alongside large-scale indoor and outdoor performances. The theme of rebuilding for this year's festival could not be more apt. We reawaken the arts, try to learn to live alongside an unforgiving pandemic, while we heal and relish time together to experience live music and inspiring performances. But also we know how precarious many of our culture and tourism businesses are following the loss of income and opportunity over the past 2 years. Last year, against all the odds, the festival delivered a programme of just under 100 events, navigating COVID-19 restrictions carefully. The City Council remains a steadfast supporter of the Brighton Dome and Festival, and alongside the Arts Council of England, who I want to thank for their continued support and partnership. Millions of pounds from the Arts Council has ensured the survival of many cultural organisations across our city through 2 years of our darkest circumstances. Their survival ensures that our city's extraordinary cultural sector can recover quickly and rebuild for the future. In the last year, I know that Brighton Dome and Brighton Festival resolved to do more to support the wider arts sector in the city, and it's great to see so many of those bold initiatives carrying forward through the 2022 festival. The work to locate local people at the centre of the festival has come alongside the sterling efforts in bringing Brighton Festival back to full power this year, and I want to thank Andrew Comben, the dedicated staff and board for their tireless work. This year promises to be an outstanding time for culture in our city, a renaissance blossoming in Brighton and Hove. The new dance space, home of South East Dance, opens in Circus Street. The sound rooms open as a centre for inclusive music off Lewis Road. And of course, the completion of the Corn Exchange and Studio Theatre on the Royal Pavilion estate will be a watershed moment. New architectural and cultural assets for dance, music and theatre, which will place our city on a strong footing to revive well. From war-torn Syria, Al-Sabouni's shrewd assessment of rebuilding helps us understand the many challenges COVID-19 continues to throw in our way. Architecture offers a mirror to a community, and in that mirror we can see what is wrong and also find hints as to how to put it right.
The University of Sussex is proud to once again be the major sponsor of the Brighton Festival. Through a programme which encapsulates creativity, compassion and connection, the festival is a celebration of what makes Brighton such a special place. It also speaks to our university's aims and values. For more than 60 years, we've been contributing to the cultural life of Brighton and the wider community. We set out to challenge convention and have continued to inspire our students, our academics and researchers to pursue knowledge with integrity, to work collaboratively and inclusively, and to incorporate kindness into our everyday actions, into everything that we do. This year's festival theme, Rebuild, also strongly resonates with us. The guest co-directors, Marwa Al-Sabouni and Tristan Sharps, have expressed their interest in architecture, both in the physical and in the metaphysical sense. And our iconic 60s campus, designed by Sir Basil Spence, has long been cherished for fostering that connection between mind and place. Significantly, as University of Sanctuary, we're deeply committed to helping those who need it rebuild their lives in their new communities. We're also delighted to be contributing to this programme with our own University of Sussex Festival of Ideas. We'll have a series of events both on campus and in the city that look at how the arts and humanities have helped to shape how we think about the past, the present and the future. Among these events is a panel discussion at our own Attenborough Centre for the Creative Arts on what can be done to revitalise the cultural sector after COVID. The University of Sussex is really proud to be supporting this year's festival, and we look forward to seeing you there.
Thank you again, Phelim and Emily. Earlier this week, I spoke to Marwa in Homs and Tristan in Brighton about their work together on this programme. But first, let's hear from them both about the theme of rebuilding, which is at the heart of this year's festival.
I have lived all my life here in Homs, the third biggest city in Syria. As an architect, I was observing the demise of this once quiet and calm place through the lens of my own craft, architecture. This led me to write about the role of architecture in war and peace, and my book was fortunately received very well around the world, which got me invited to so many places to go and speak about my work.
When my company dreamthinkspeak creates a new production, we often work with up to 100 or 150 people at a time. And so we create a really strong sense of a temporary community. And I think that this sense of a community is always really, really important to a dreamthinkspeak project.
It's indeed a great honor to collaborate with Tristan to co-guest direct Brighton Festival. The theme of rebuilding is our response to the many forms of erosion that took place around the world in the past few years. Not only the physical destruction of homes and communities, but also the loss of what brings us together and what makes us belong.
For me, our theme of rebuilding is not just about reconstructing your physical surroundings, it's also about reinventing and reimagining those surroundings. And I strongly believe that it's in this way that we can reconnect, not just with those surroundings and the world around us, but with ourselves as well.
My city was the place where I have lost and found home. The destruction that was inflicted on it made me reflect on the invisible roots which led to this shocking tragedy.
I'm seen as a theatre maker, but I've never felt I've really belonged to the world of theatre. For me, this isn't theatre.
The ugly tower blocks, the destruction of agricultural land, the segregation of people, the obliteration of beauty, identity, and meaning. The war in my city had opened my eyes on what architecture can actually do.
For me, this is theatre. I've made theatre in many sites like these: an underground basement, a disused department store, an empty tower block, and even a busy street.
Architecture is as encompassing field of knowledge as philosophy. It's where we live, work, connect, and belong. We are inevitably affected by how it looks and how it feels, as much as it's affected by how we respond to it, interact with it, live in and around it.
I've always been fascinated by architecture, and I think that my work essentially responds to buildings, both the outside of buildings and the inside of buildings. I always really love it when audiences can see a building in a new light.
My country wasn't always a place of war. Although it's difficult to remember how it looked 10 years ago, life goes on, and my city lives on. But the issue of rebuilding is pressing. How to rebuild is a global question now, in which all of us have a role to play.
The London Road area of Brighton, where I live, has been hit really hard in the past 2 years by the huge drop in the thriving local student population. And yet I'm really struck by the resilience of the local people and the local businesses in this area.
Despite the variation in severity, our experiences overlap. Art and architecture may not be a magic cure, but they are definitely great places to meet, connect, and exchange, to form friendships, and to reflect.
Like many of us, I've lost people who are close to me over the past 2 years, but I've also found new friendships, and I feel I've refound my love for the city that I live in. It's not an unconditional love. When you find yourself and see yourself in a new light, you see both the good things and also the bad things. But I do feel now that I'm starting to appreciate more and more the places that perhaps I've taken for granted for so many years.
Our appreciation of places is an appreciation of ourselves, and it's important to remember that rebuilding goes far beyond the physical end result.
My hope is that the festival can play a part in challenging and transforming how we see ourselves and also how we see the city around us. And I really cannot wait to experience this with you and with Marwa and with the whole of Brighton in May.
Brighton Festival is offering all of us a wonderful chance to look at rebuilding through the wide spectrum of creativity it's hosting. We will be honored to see you all there.
Welcome, Marwa and Tristan, our two guest co-directors. It's wonderful to have you with us here tonight and to have seen that beautiful film exploring the theme of rebuilding for this year's festival, and to see you in both of your home contexts. I wonder if we could start by talking a little bit first about how you first became aware of each other, how you met, and then decided to work together. Perhaps Marwa, you first.
Thank you, Andrew, for having us, and it's wonderful to be talking here just about the launching of Brighton Festival. It's so exciting, and let's talk how Tristan and I have met. It's I will say part of the story, and perhaps Tristan will continue. So Tristan got in touch online, basically, when he read about my work, and he was basically approaching to collaborate on one of his projects. And afterwards, after exchanging online and via email and via Zoom as well, or I don't remember, I think it's Skype, it's before Zoom, and then I was invited to Edinburgh when we agreed to meet in person. I think, Tristan, what about you, Tristan? Would you like to say this part of the story?
Yes, I mean, I read your book, of course, The Battle for Home, and was really inspired by that. And I was working on a project that was inspired by the Bauhaus. And when I read your book, I suddenly realized that I just cannot do this project unless I at least have a conversation with you, and hopefully, invite you to work with me on the project. And so, yes, we met in Edinburgh. We went to a pizza restaurant, and we had a pizza and salad because that's what you really wanted. I think you'd had a long day. You'd been doing a TED talk, I think, and you'd had a really long day of TED talking and conferencing. And I think you just wanted to have some lots of good carbohydrate, but with the salad as well. So we had a sort of pizza and salad, and then just had a fantastic conversation. I think we spoke for about 2 hours. And I just sort of realized that a lot of the things that you'd been concerned with in your work really chimed with a lot of the things that I'd been exploring around cities and city building, and it just seemed to sort of really link together. And since then, we've sort of kept in touch, and we're planning various projects. I think we'll probably collaborate, in the future as well. But it's just great that we're now working together on the festival.
Yeah, so this was back in 2018, wasn't it? And what then interested you both about accepting the invitation to be guest co-directors, to work together in this way, but also to work on Brighton Festival? What was intriguing for you?
Well, like Tristan said, from the moment we got in touch, we noticed that we have overlaps in our ethics work and in what interests us in certain areas and concerns about our environment and what we want to address in our work. And then when the invitation came from Brighton Festival, for me it was such an exciting opportunity because it's completely new. First of all, it's completely new to me as an architect. You don't guest direct a festival if you are an architect on like a daily basis, or it's a rare opportunity, and it's a wonderful opportunity as well, because this connection with arts is not new to architecture, and the conversation that arts bring to architecture is very important and something that means a lot to me. So it was basically a great opportunity to collaborate with the festival and with Tristan. I couldn't ask for a better opportunity myself.
That's lovely, thank you. And Tristan, for you?
Yeah, I mean, of course, I'm going to echo there what Marwa has said. I mean, for me also, Brighton has been my home for the past 25 years. So to be asked to co-guest direct at an international festival in the town, the city where you live, is just a wonderful, really, a real honor. And to be doing it with Marwa is just extra special. I think that's really worked out so wonderful from the point that we met in 2018 to now be working together on the festival. I think that's fantastic. So for me, it's just I'm blown away by it, really. Thank you.
Well, and from our point of view, it's been wonderful to work with you both and to have that collaboration. We've never worked in this way with two guest directors before, and to have the feeling from both of you that you're absolutely in sync, that you're driving at the same ideals, and to build this program together, I think has been really wonderful. And obviously the theme that you have chosen around rebuilding feels absolutely relevant to us and to our audiences now. So I'm hugely excited for that. But thank you for bringing all of your intelligence and insight, but also your humour and great fun. I think there's really serious elements to this program, but there's also a huge amount to enjoy and indulge in, which I think you've guided really beautifully. I wonder if you'd like to share a couple of highlights, your own personal highlights for the program, and again, first to you, Marwa. Are there particular things in the program that you're looking forward to seeing in May?
Well, the array of wonderful artists and authors is just, it's so amazing. But in particular, I am looking forward to the book festival in the festival, and of course, the one of the highlights is Abdurrazak Gurna's event, which I'm personally looking forward to. And I mean, the program is just it's so nice and so diverse, and it has so many events that are all highlights. But I will highlight Tristan's event, the Unchain Me, which I'm really looking forward to as well. So it's a wonderful program, and your team has done a great work. We've inspired some of the events, but the rest of it is just, it's so exciting.
Thank you, Marwa. And Tristan, for you.
Well, of course, Marwa's project is something that is really, I can't wait to see that. I think that's going to be, I don't really want to say too much about it because I think it's going to be, it's going to be a little bit of a secret, but I think it's going to really be something quite exceptional and something not seen before, I think, in the festival. I think that's what's so wonderful about it. There are some local artists as well. I'm also really keen to see, I'm really happy to see in the program. Charlotte Spencer is a choreographer who has been creating work for a long time now, and it's just wonderful to see her work showcased at the festival. Emma Critchley is another locally based artist, and her piece Witness, it's great to see that there. She's a wonderful filmmaker, specializes in underwater work. And for both of those artists also, I think the projects that they are planning are both real step forwards for them. They're really sort of pushing their work in different directions. So I'm really excited to see that as well. There are so many things in the program that I just cannot wait to be a spectator once the festival is up and running, and to be able to experience as much of the work as I possibly can.
As you've heard there, two major pillars of the programme are devised by Marwa and Tristan. Here's Marwa talking about the Rework, a temporary venue on Hove Seafront, along with a message from our wonderful major sponsor, Moda Living. And then Tristan with Unchain Me by dreamthinkspeak.
When the colonnade is built, it's built next to a building. In our case, we don't have an actual building. We have an imaginary building or border between the city and the beach, and in that. That's the reason why we came up with the idea of building a circle structure, kind of embracing the public space that will host all these wonderful events and all those great artists that will present their art to the city, and where the communication and the connection and the exchange will happen between the audience and the city. I hope you all will enjoy it, and I look forward to seeing all of you in the festival.
The Rework Project is an inspiring piece of work based on the importance of bringing communities together and the value of interaction and experienced well-being. This is at the heart of what we do at Moda, where we're dedicated to building sustainable neighbourhoods that have a positive impact and promote collaboration between communities. We're really proud to be a part of the festival and look forward to celebrating arts and humanity with people from all over the world.
Unchain Me is a project that I've been thinking about for about 12, 13, 14 years now. And somehow the stars are never quite aligned for me to be able to do the project. So I'm really pleased that I'm able to do it at the festival this year. It's basically about a secret cell of activists that forms in a provincial town, or in this case, a city. And their aim basically is to change the world. And they do it, first of all, by wanting to change the city in which they live. And I don't want to give too many details, of course, about exactly how they want to create that change, but the audience will join them at a very significant point in their trajectory. There are a series of really key events that are about to unfold in the history of their cell and their work, and the audience are going to be swept up in those key events. And those events go in a slightly different direction to the direction that the cell and the leader of the cell hopes it will go in. I think probably the other really interesting thing about the project, certainly from my point of view, is that we're going to be looking into and opening up areas of very well-known buildings in the centre of Brighton that audiences will know well. And there'll be some areas of those buildings that are well-known areas that we're going to be hopefully showing in a new light, but also uncovering new areas of these buildings that audiences have never seen. And so for me, that's a really exciting venture. And we're also going to be working with a lot of other businesses and areas that are encircling the key buildings that are going to be the centre point of the project. I can't guarantee that it's going to change Brighton, but I always think that when audiences see a show that really connects with them, they come out transformed. And so I really hope that audiences, when they see this piece, will come out with a new look or a new view on the world in which they live in. Certainly, this secret cell of activists are aiming to change the world and to change the view of the audience as well of the world that we all live in and share.
We've around 150 events across this fantastic programme, too many to share in detail tonight, and I hope you'll explore the full programme on brightonfestival.org. As I said earlier, we're privileged to work with wonderful partners for this year's festival across the region and in the city. Indeed, we're extending our reach this year with Creative Crawley. We're bringing artists and international delegates to Brighton thanks to Caravan Assembly. And we're co-commissioning wonderful new work for the outdoors thanks to Without Walls. We're also working with partners Charleston Festival and with Little Green Pig, Bigfoot Music, In-House Records and Carousel and many, many more. Here we've brought together some conversations with artists and with some of those partners to explore their work and also what the theme of rebuilding means to them.
Rebuilding to me, I think particularly in relation to this work, I'm thinking about rebuilding relationships, rebuilding our relationship with nature. I think it's a really bad place, and there's a lot of reconnecting that needs to be done. Like with the challenges that we face with the climate crisis, we need to think about our relationship with nature and how we can reconnect and rebuild the way we think about and value the natural world around us. But also rebuilding relationships across different communities. So again, it feels like we live in an increasingly polarized world, and with the climate situation, it's vitally important that we come together and share knowledge across cultures and communities in a respectful way.
For me, this all speaks to ideas about how we connect with ourselves more fully and how we connect with others, how we might interact with others in new and ways that are full of possibility. And this feels like it's the heart of what Tristan and Marwa are trying to do through the festival.
I feel rebuilding is quite tricky to even describe at such close quarters after all we've been through. The fact that we're getting together to make a festival, that we've survived the 2 years, is extraordinary. And I think we'll know what rebuilding means when we're sitting there in audiences, looking at shows and being together in rooms again. You know what I would really love is for particularly young women to watch this show and walk out and think, I will never do anything that doesn't annoy somebody in authority.
There's such a big collective of local artists, local, regional, national artists in this project. And I can't tell you how much energy it's giving me to have conversations with these artists, with sound artists, with musicians, with writers, about these sites, about these ideas around precarity and about what needs to be witnessed, what needs to be heard now. And to have those sorts of conversations in exchange, and then to be sort of an ally as artists are in their process, creating the works for that site that then will bloom to make this thing that happens across so many different sites and different times of the day across a whole period of 3 weeks. It's like, we're getting a lot of energy back here in our kitchen from that process of working with people.
We're programming a brilliant mix of activities for local children and young people, showcasing writing in its many forms. So we'll be running a range of sort of fun, engaging workshops led by professional writers and artists. There'll hopefully be an open mic for children and young people to perform, have their voices heard. And at the end of the weekend, our wonderful project Amplified on the Sunday afternoon, which sees a group of local young people performing their very personal stories on stage.
The 2022 will be Carousel's 40th anniversary. So it's a big year for us. And although it's been a tough couple of years, it feels fitting that this year we will be kind of returning and getting back to doing what we love most and do best.
I'm Gabi. And I come from Peru, Cavazzo, and you can focus in Brighton Festival. So come on and peace out.
We work with musicians specifically who've moved to the UK from other places in the world. When we first started, it was really difficult to get English people, especially English people that didn't have any heritage from anywhere in the world. It was really difficult to get those people to come to gigs. But now, slowly, that's changed, and now we get quite a wide, diverse audiences, which is great. I mean, that's what it should be. And people genuinely do come and they meet each other and they share food and they kind of build friendships and that, which is, that's what life should be about, really, isn't it?
We're really excited to be part of Brighton Festival for a lot of different reasons. I mean, partly because we've lived here for over 20 years. It's the longest either of us have lived anywhere in our lives, and it's our home and will be for a long time to come. And living in Brighton, the festival and the Fringes is a massive part of living here. So we're excited to be a part of it from the start. But then this project specifically, we're excited to kind of go through that process of rediscovering and just hear other people's stories, because it's a small city, but there's thousands and thousands of people here who all have their own personal connection with it. So we're looking forward to engaging with people outside of our little bubble and hearing their stories as well.
We as artists are really trying to advocate for the importance of culture and arts in this time as we rebuild out of the pandemic. And I think lots of us at home with our children and in our families used the arts and drawing and telling stories and watching things when we weren't able to be together. And now we are able to be together once again. It's really important that we can tell stories from all of us and not just from some people.
From Marwa, from Tristan, and from all of us at Brighton Festival, thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you to the artists we've seen tonight and the many more that we will experience in May. I'll leave you now with this short film of highlights and really look forward to welcoming you to the festival in May. Good night.